go. G'day there, it's Sam King here. Bit of a windy day here at the test farm for King Agricultural. Today we're having a look at this wood chipper. Everything that we sell at King Agricultural, either that item has been used and tested on the farm, so we're confident that it's a good product, easy to use, easy to maintain, and that test item we either keep for our own use or we sell it off as a demonstration, because you can look all around the internet and there's a lot of these models around. We can see them in operation. This is just a quick introduction and walk around it, but some of these poplars and other bits and pieces around, are coming down. So the next couple of weeks this demonstration model is going to go into full swing, and I'll produce a thingy on it then. And you'll notice, looking at wood chippers in the New Zealand market, there's a whole lot of really small stuff, and then at the other end of the scale there's a big jump, because at the other end of the scale you've got 10, 20, 40,000, $100,000 upwards. But right in the middle here you'll see these PTO chippers. There's a 6-inch one on the market which I don't sell, and there's an 8-inch one, and I think it's always better to break that Kiwi mold where you try and get the smallest one you can to do the biggest amount of work. But it's better if you get stuff that's heavy duty, and so it's going to handle the work with ease. This is the latest version from this manufacturer, and it has much improved hydraulic system. You'll be looking at various ones of these for sale, and the biggest difference that you'll see is that this is hydraulic. Some of them are not hydraulic. This is the hydraulic tank, and you don't need any priming and bleeding or anything like that. Open it up and stick in one drum of 20 litres of hydraulic fluid, and you're good to go. So as you can see, there's the chute with the deflector at the top, and you can adjust that to any angle, and that can sort of power out a decent way. So you can just put it into a thing in the ground, or catch it with something, a trailer or a bag, or whatever you want. Down here you've noticed that's very low to the ground. That's because I've got a tractor and its name is low arse. But on the bottom of that comes another extendable legs, because most tractors this will be sitting high, because you want to get your PTO as level as you possibly can when you're operating this machine. Otherwise your power's not converting to where it needs to go. Now this setup is suitable for most tractors, because what you'll notice there is that the spline for the PTO is sort of right here, and the normal position of this is way back here, you see, where it connects to. And so if your tractor, there's not a great distance between like your linkage here and where your PTO starts, then you're going to end up with a pretty short PTO shaft, as in the case of mine. So I've pulled that out to full extent there, and that just helps it. Otherwise you'd end up with almost hardly any distance for your PTO shaft. When one of these things arrives to you, it's almost fully assembled, and it's basically this part here from here to here, and all you've got to do is add this to it and the chute to it up the top, and that's pretty easy. This part here comes in 4 pieces, and so you assemble those 4 bits together, and then it goes onto there, and just bolt that in, and that bends around as it goes. This part comes separate, and so you put it over there, wind that on, bolts go in, this goes in here, bolt there, 4 bolts there, pretty easy. 4 bolts to put the chute on, and that's it. You'll notice these plastic things are there, and if you find those annoying you can take them off, but a lot of people like to leave them there because it just sort of keeps the chips and grime and stuff off them. Having a wood chipper like this does require a bit of on-the-go maintenance, with making sure your blades are always sharp. Sometimes something might happen and you might get a bit of a clog up there, so that you can just take off those bolts off the inspection panel. This side, another one on that side, and there's one at the bottom, just in case if you need to fish out some chips, so you're ready to go again. But out of the 8-inch wood chippers, the biggest variation is whether or not it's manual or hydraulic. Now there really are big advantages of having a wood chipper with hydraulics, and this is why I bought this one for my own use, is that it's got a big huge roller in there with decent sized teeth, and that just grips onto the logs and pulls them in. If it's a manual feeder, what it's doing is the blade that's inside the section here, you know, hits onto the wood and relies on that sort of thing, you know, pulling it down into there a bit. And obviously every blade starts to go a bit dull. In between being really, really sharp and really, really dull, there's a lot in between there. And exponentially, as that gets duller, you've got to start pushing those logs, those branches in a lot more yourself. These machines are built to last and do a huge amount of work each day. So if you're pushing in quite a bit for some hours each day, then that's not particularly good, and it's probably not particularly safe if you slip on something and, you know, you're having to push stuff. So that's safety for you and safety for your gear. The other big advantage to having a hydraulic chipper is because, okay, whenever you're chipping, you've got stuff that you've got to get rid of. It's leaves, it's branches, it's logs and things like that. You've got to get rid of them. But out the other end, you're producing something, and what you're producing are chips, and you can adjust the size, therefore the appearance of the chips, by adjusting the speed of that roller that pulls it into the blade. So, you know, if you want nice fine chips for something a bit more decorative, then, you know, when those medium to large logs start coming in, you can slow it down if you want those chips to be smaller. So that basically means that, you know, when you're matching up what you're producing out the other end, you're matching that up to end users, you know, whether it's going on to gardens where you want nice fine stuff, or a bit mulchy or stringy, and it depends on what you're feeding into it as well. Another thing is, if you could be slightly underpowered with your tractor, you want to slow down that feeder, so it just takes off little chips at a time. The other safety feature about the hydraulic feeder is that it has a neutral and a reverse, and there's a lever on the side and a bar at the back that you can quickly whip into action if you want to stop the thing, so the motor's still going but the roll is not feeding in, or you can reverse it so it sort of pulls out anything. And that can happen not just if your arm goes in there, but, you know, like if there's a bit of barbed wire or something that you didn't quite see at first, something doesn't quite sound right, you know, you didn't tighten up a nut or something like that, and something happens. So you hear something and you biff it into reverse. So that's safety for you and safety for your gear.